The Great Hall of the Galactic Council had never seen such chaos. Hundreds of alien species filled the massive chamber, their voices creating a storm of clicks, whistles, and growls. At the center of it all stood Ambassador Veltar, his crystal, body glowing bright red with alarm. "Silence!" Veltar's voice cut through the noise like a blade. The ancient Threnody had lived for over 3,000 years. When he spoke, others listened. "We face a threat unlike any we have known before." The chamber fell quiet. Species that had fought wars for millennia stopped their arguments. Even the proud hegemony representatives leaned forward in their seats. 3 days ago, our deep space, scouts discovered a new species, Veltar continued. His crystal form flickered as he shared the data. They call themselves humans. They live on a world they name Earth. A young Kralix officer laughed. "One world? What threat could a single planet pose to our great empires?" Veltar's glow turned darker. "That is what we thought, until we studied them." The holographic display showed images of Earth, blue oceans, green lands, white clouds. It looked peaceful, beautiful even. "We intercepted their communication signals," Veltar said. "We learned their history, and what we found—" He paused, his ancient voice heavy with worry. "What we found should terrify us all." The display changed. Now it showed scenes from human history. Wars, battles, cities burning. Weapons that could destroy entire regions in seconds. "They have been fighting each other for their entire recorded history," Veltar explained. "But look at how they fight. Look at their weapons. They turned splitting atoms into bombs. They made diseases into weapons. They poisoned their own air and water to kill their enemies." A hegemony admiral stood up. "Primitive weapons. Our energy shields would stop anything they could build." "Would they?" Veltar asked. The display showed more images. Humans building. Humans creating. Humans turning everything they touched into tools of war. They made weapons from their farming tools. They turned their flying machines into bombers. They used their merchant ships to carry soldiers across oceans. The chamber grew quiet again. Many species had fought wars, but few had the imagination to turn peaceful things into weapons. "But here is what truly frightens me," Veltar said. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. "They do not fight like we do. When we wage war, we follow rules. We protect civilians. We avoid destroying worlds that could be useful. Humans." He paused again. "Humans wage total war. The display showed more scenes. Cities completely destroyed. Entire populations moved or eliminated. Scorched earth. Tactics that left nothing useful behind. When they decide something is their enemy, they do not just defeat it. They erase it. They make sure it can never threaten them again. And they are very, very good at it." Meanwhile, on Earth, Captain Hyun-woo was having the strangest day of his life. He stood in a forest clearing in the Korean mountains, staring at something that should not exist. A spacecraft, not human-made. The metal was wrong. The shape was wrong. Everything about it was alien. "Sir," Dr. Yoonji called from beside the crashed ship. "I'm getting life signs. Something is alive in there." Engineer Boram was already working on the ship's hull. "The metal is incredible," she said. "I've never seen anything like it. But the crash damaged the main systems. They can't fly away." Hyun-woo moved closer to the ship. His team had been investigating strange radar signals when they found this. First contact with alien life. The moment humanity had dreamed about for centuries. "Can we communicate with them?" he asked. "I'm trying," Yoonji replied, adjusting her equipment. "I'm picking up radio signals from inside. Wait, I think they're trying to send us something." The equipment crackled. Then, impossibly, words came through. Broken, translated by some alien computer, but understandable. "Please, no harm. We mean..." No danger. Hyunwoo stepped closer to the ship. We're here to help, he called out. We won't hurt you. More crackling. Then, no, you not understand. Danger not you to us, danger us to you, must not know, must not find. Boram looked confused. Sir, I think they're afraid of us. That's impossible, Hyunwoo said. We're the ones who should be afraid. They have spaceships. We barely made it to our own moon. The radio crackled again. Warning, sending to others, telling them, do not attack humans. Do not let them know. They will. The signal cut out. Inside the ship, something was moving. The aliens were trying to fix their communications. Sir, Yunji said, I'm detecting massive energy buildup. I think they're trying to send a message to space. Back in the Galactic Council, Veltar was finishing his presentation. I propose we declare human space a forbidden zone. We must not contact them. We must not let them know we exist. And we must never, under any circumstances, attack them. The young Kralix officer stood up again. This is madness. One primitive world and you want us to run away? The Kralix Empire has conquered 1,000 worlds! And how many of those worlds had nuclear weapons before they invented agriculture? Veltar asked. How many had planned biological warfare before they developed medicine? How many had turned their entertainment into military training? The officer fell silent. I have studied war for 3 millennia, Veltar continued. I have seen empires rise and fall, but I have never seen a species that makes war the way humans do. They do not just fight to win. They fight to make sure they never have to fight again. They study their enemies. They adapt. They innovate. And they never, ever give up. He pointed to the display, which now showed human cities. Peaceful-looking places full of people going about their daily lives. Look at them now. They appear calm, peaceful. But do you know what they call the time when they are not actively fighting wars? They call it peacetime. Not peace, peacetime. Even their language shows they understand that war is the natural state of things. The hegemony admiral was looking troubled now. But surely they would not be a threat to our technology. We have been spacefaring for millennia. Have we? Veltar asked. How long did it take us to develop faster-than-light travel? How long did it take us to build energy weapons? Humans have existed as a technological species for less than 200 years. In that time, they have gone from simple machines to nuclear weapons. At this rate, he calculated quickly, at this rate, they will have technology equal to ours. Within a century, maybe less. The chamber erupted in worried voices again. A century was nothing to most of the long-lived species in the council. I say again, Veltar called over the noise. We must not contact them. We must leave them alone. And we must pray they do not discover us. On Earth, the alien ship's engines finally roared to life. It lifted off shakily, damaged but functional. As it rose into the sky, one final message came through the radio. Warned them. Told Council. Do not attack humans. They will reduce Empire to ashes. Hope they listen. Hope they stay away. Hyunwoo watched the ship disappear into the clouds. He looked at his team. They had just made first contact with alien life, but instead of welcoming humanity to the galaxy, the aliens had warned their own people to stay away. Sir, Boram said quietly, do you think there are more of them out there? Hyunwoo kept staring at the empty sky. I think we're about to find out. In the depths of space, the message was already spreading. Some species listened to the warning. Others began to plan, and in the Kralix Empire, Admiral Kailesh smiled as he read the reports about primitive humans. Soon, he thought, they would learn what happened to species that thought they could threaten the mighty Kralix. Admiral Kailesh stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Destroyer of Worlds. Through the massive windows, he could see his fleet spread out across space. 500 ships, each one capable of burning a planet to ash. The pride of the Kralix. Empire! "Report," he ordered, his forearms crossed behind his back. "Admiral," his tactical officer replied, "we have located 3 human colonies, New Sol, Terra Nova, and Olympus Station. Intelligence says they are lightly defended. Mostly research stations and civilian settlements." Kailash smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Perfect. The humans need to learn their place in the galaxy. We will show them what happens to species that think they are special." He had read Veltar's warnings to the Council. The old crystal being was clearly getting soft with age. Humans were just another primitive species that needed to be put in their place. The Kralliks had been conquering worlds for 5,000 years. These humans had barely left their home planet. "Begin the attack," Kailash ordered. "Full orbital bombardment. Leave nothing standing." The fleet moved forward, energy weapons charged, targeting systems locked onto the human settlements below. On New Sol, Dr. So Young was studying soil samples when the attack began. She was General Taemin's daughter, but she had chosen science over the military. She loved discovering new things on this distant world. The colony was home to 50,000 people, all working together to build a new life among the stars. The first blast hit the main research center. So Young looked up from her microscope as the building shook. Through the window, she saw fire, falling from the sky. Ships in orbit were shooting at them. "Emergency protocols!" someone shouted. "This is not a drill!" So Young ran to the communications center. She had to warn Earth, had to tell them what was happening. Her fingers flew over the controls as more explosions rocked the colony around her. "Earth Command, this is New Sol Colony," she spoke into the transmitter. "We are under attack. Unknown alien ships are conducting orbital bombardment. Repeat, we are under attack by alien forces." The response was immediate. "New Sol, this is Earth Command. Confirm alien attack." "Are you certain?" Another explosion, much closer this time. The lights went out. So Young switched to emergency power. "Confirmed. Multiple ships in orbit. Energy weapons. They're destroying everything." She paused as the building shook again. "Dad, tell my dad I love him. Tell him to make them pay." The transmission cut out as the research center collapsed. On Terra Nova, the attack was just as swift and brutal. The colonists tried to evacuate, but there was nowhere to run. The alien ships tracked every shuttle, every transport, every person trying to escape. Captain Young-ho led a group of civilians to the underground shelters, but even those were not safe. The aliens' weapons went deep, turning rock to molten slag. Olympus Station fared no better. The space station had no planetary defenses to hide behind. Commander Jaemin ordered all ships to evacuate immediately, but the alien fleet was too fast. They destroyed the station and every ship that tried to escape. In less than 6 hours, 3 human colonies were gone. 50,000 people reduced to ash and memories. On Earth, General Taemin received the news in his command center deep beneath the Korean mountains. The man who had fought in 20 conflicts across human space sat in silence as the reports came in. His daughter was dead. His little girl who had chosen to study plants instead of warfare. "Sir?" Colonel Wu Jin stood beside him, waiting for orders. Taemin looked up. His eyes were cold as winter ice. "Contact Dr. Minho. Tell him to activate Project Samson immediately." "Sir, are you certain? Samson was designed as a last resort." "Colonel," Taemin said quietly, 50,000 humans are dead, including my daughter. The aliens just made this a last resort situation." Dr. Minho had been waiting for this call his entire career. He had hoped it would never come. Project Samson was humanity's deepest secret. Hidden bases throughout human space, weapons that most people thought were just theoretical, plans that had been developed in case humanity ever faced an existential threat. "General," he said when Taemin's call came through, "I need confirmation. You want to activate all Samson protocols?" "Everything, Doctor. Every ship, Every weapon, every plan we've ever made for this situation. Someone just declared war on humanity. Time to show them what that means. Dr. Minho's fingers moved across his console. Across human space, hidden bases came online. Ships that had been disguised as cargo haulers revealed their true nature. Weapons that had been buried on distant asteroids powered up for the first time. Humanity had been preparing for alien contact for 2 centuries. They had hoped for peace, but they had planned for war. Admiral Kai Lesh was feeling quite pleased with himself. The human colonies had been destroyed exactly as planned. Now he could return to Kralik space and report a successful mission. The humans would know their place in the galaxy. "Admiral," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth." "Put it through," Kai Lesh ordered. He wanted to hear the humans beg for mercy. The face that appeared on the screen was calm. Too calm. General Tae Min. Look directly at Kai Lesh through the communication link. "I am General Tae Min of the Earth Defense Forces," the human said. "You have attacked and destroyed 3 of our colonies. You have murdered 50,000 innocent people. In accordance with our laws of war, this constitutes an act of unprovoked aggression against humanity." Kai Lesh laughed. "Your laws mean nothing to us, human. Surrender now, and we might let some of you live as slaves." Taemin's expression never changed. "Admiral, you seem to misunderstand the situation. I am not here to negotiate. I am here to deliver a message. You have 24 hours to surrender your entire fleet. If you do not, we will destroy you." "You?" Kai Lesh could barely speak through his laughter. "You are one primitive world. We are the mighty Kralix Empire." "Admiral," Taemin said, "you killed my daughter. You just made this personal." The transmission ended. Kai Lesh was still laughing when the attack began. Captain Dong Hyun led the first wave. His ship, the Soul's Revenge, dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly behind the Kralix fleet. It was followed by 50 other ships, all appearing from different directions at the same time. These were not the exploration ships the Kralix expected. These were warships. Human warships designed specifically to kill other spacecraft. Their weapons were unlike anything the Kralix had ever seen. Nuclear-pumped X-ray lasers fired invisible beams that cut through Kralix shields like they were made of paper. Relativistic kill vehicles, chunks of metal accelerated to near light. Speed slammed into alien ships with the force of atomic bombs. But the weapon that truly shocked the Kralix was something humans called a planet cracker. It was designed to destroy asteroids for mining. The aliens discovered it worked just as well on spaceships. "Impossible!" Kai Lesh shouted as his fleet was torn apart around him. "They were primitive, one world. How do they have weapons like this?" His tactical officer was frantically trying to understand what was happening. "Admiral, their technology, it's unlike anything in our databases. These weapons shouldn't be possible." "Fall back," Kai Lesh ordered. "All ships retreat to Kralix space immediately," but there was nowhere to run. The human ships were faster, more agile, and their weapons had longer range than anything the Kralix possessed. One by one, the proud ships of the Kralix Empire were reduced to debris and expanding gas clouds. Captain Dong Hyun watched the enemy. Flagship tried to escape. The Soul's Revenge moved to intercept. This was for So Young and all the others who had died in the colonies. "Target their engines," he ordered. "I want them alive to send a message back to their empire." The destroyer of worlds shuddered as its engines were destroyed. Admiral Kai Lesh found himself trapped, watching as the rest of his fleet was methodically eliminated by the supposedly primitive humans. A communication came from the human ship. Captain Dong Hyun's face appeared on the screen. "Admiral Kai Lesh," the human said, "you are now a prisoner of war. Your fleet is destroyed. Your mission has failed. You will be returned to your empire with a message." "What message?" Kai Lesh asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Tell your emperor that humanity remembers its dead. Tell him that we do not forgive. Tell him that if the Kralix Empire wants a war, it will get one. but warn him that we do not fight. War's the way you do. When we fight to win. Completely. The communication ended. Kailash sat in his damaged ship, surrounded by the wreckage of the most powerful fleet in Kralik space. 500 ships had attacked 3 defenseless colonies. Now only 1 ship remained, and it was dead in space. On Earth, General Taemin stood before a room full of military leaders. "Gentlemen," he said, "we are now at war with an alien empire. They have made it clear they see us as nothing more than slaves or target practice. Dr. Minho, what is our current military status?" "All Samson protocols are active," the scientist reported. "We have 300 combat ships ready for deployment. Our hidden bases are operational. The weapons programs that have been in development for decades are now coming online. And our production capabilities? We can build ships faster than any alien empire has ever managed. Our automated factories are already working at full capacity." Taemin nodded. "Then let's give the Kralix Empire exactly what they asked for. Send word to all human sea." Commander Ji-hoon stood in the control center of Hidden Base Alpha, watching as screens lit up across the galaxy. For 30 years, he had been the keeper of humanity's greatest secret. Project Samson, the network of hidden military installations that most humans didn't even know existed. "Status report," he ordered, his voice calm despite the magnitude of what was happening. "All primary bases are online," reported Lieutenant Su Jin from her console. "We have 47 hidden installations across 16 star systems. Each one is powering up exactly as planned." Ji-hoon nodded. The bases had been built in secret over decades, disguised as mining operations, research stations, and communication relays. Each one contained enough firepower to destroy a small fleet. Together, they represented the largest military buildup in human history. And the ships? 312 combat vessels, sir. All hidden in asteroid fields, gas giant rings, and deep space storage. The Kraliks think we're a one-world species with a few exploration ships. Su Jin smiled grimly. They're about to discover how wrong they are. On Europa Base, hidden beneath the ice of Jupiter's moon, Dr. Hee-jin was working, frantically in her laboratory. For 20 years, she had been developing theoretical weapons. Now those theories were becoming deadly reality. "How long until the singularity bombs are ready?" her assistant, Dr. Kang Min, asked. 12 hours, Hee-jin replied, not looking up from her work. "The gravitational field generators are complex, but the principles are sound. One bomb can create a micro-black hole that will consume an entire enemy ship." Kang Min shuddered. "And the neural disruptors?" "Already finished. They broadcast a signal that overloads alien nervous systems, non-lethal to humans due to our specific brain structure, but fatal to most other known species." She paused in her work. "I always hoped these would remain theoretical." "Ma'am," Kang Min said quietly, "they killed 50,000 of our people, including children." Hee-jin's hands tightened on her tools. "Then let's make sure they never kill another human again." Captain Dong Yun was leading the first wave of humanity's response. His ship, Soul's Revenge, was one of 50 vessels moving toward the Kralix border. But these weren't the exploration ships that had originally left Earth. These were something else entirely. "Sir," his weapons officer called out, "all systems are green. The new planet cracker cannons are ready for combat testing." Dong Hyun looked at the weapon displays. Humanity had taken mining equipment designed to break apart asteroids and turned it into a ship-killing weapon. It fired a concentrated beam that could destabilize molecular bonds. Anything it hit simply came apart at the atomic level. And the relativistic missiles? Loaded and ready, sir. Each one carries a tungsten warhead accelerated to 90% light speed. Impact force equivalent to a nuclear weapon. These weapons had been developed from humanity's space exploration technology. Spacecraft engines designed to push ships between stars could also push missiles to incredible speeds. The Kralix had never faced weapons like this because no other species had. Thought to weaponize their civilian technology. Contact from Earth Command, his communications officer reported. General Taemin's face appeared on the screen. The man looked tired but determined. Captain Dong-hyun, you are cleared for Operation Payback. Your target is the Kralix Supply Depot. At Kepler 442, intelligence says it's lightly defended but contains enough military supplies to support their entire fleet. Understood, sir. What are our rules of engagement? Taemin's expression grew cold. Captain, they destroyed 3 of our colonies without warning. They killed civilians, including children. There are no rules of engagement. Destroy everything. The transmission ended. Dong-hyun looked around his bridge. Every crew member was thinking the same thing. This wasn't exploration anymore. This was war. At the Kralix Supply Depot, Station Commander Velkrath was having a normal day. The massive space station processed materials from 12 mining worlds, creating everything the Kralix military needed. It was one of the most important installations in the Empire. The first sign of trouble came from the sensor operator. Commander, I'm detecting ships approaching. Unknown configuration. Velkrath looked at the display. 50 ships had just dropped, out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. They were moving fast and heading straight for the station. Are they Kralix vessels? No, sir. The computer doesn't recognize the design. But their approach vector suggests hostile intent. Velkrath activated the station's defenses. Energy shields powered up. Weapon systems came online. The depot might be a supply station, but it was still protected by the best Kralix military technology. Send a warning transmission, he ordered. Tell them this is Kralix territory and they must leave immediately. The response came quickly. A human face appeared on the communication screen. Station Commander Velkrath, Captain Dong-hyun said, I am Captain Dong-hyun of the Earth Defense Forces. You are supplying the military forces that attacked our colonies. Surrender now, and you will be treated as prisoners of war. Impossible, Velkrath replied. Humans are primitives. You have no military forces. Commander, Dong-hyun said calmly, you have 30 seconds to surrender. After that, we will demonstrate just how primitive we are. Velkrath cut the transmission. All defensive systems, open fire. The Kralix station's weapons were powerful. Energy beams that could cut through asteroid rock reached out toward the human ships. For a moment, Velkrath thought they would work. Then the human ships began to move. They didn't fly like any spacecraft the Kralix had ever seen. Instead of staying in formation and trading fire, they scattered in all directions. Some dove below the station. Others climbed above it. A few seemed to disappear entirely, only to reappear somewhere else. How are they moving like that? His tactical officer shouted. Unknown. Their acceleration is impossible. No known species can build engines that powerful. The truth was that human ships were built differently. Instead of trying to make them comfortable for the crew, humans had designed them for pure performance. The crews wore special suits that could handle accelerations that would kill most aliens. Their ships could turn, dive, and accelerate in ways that seemed to break the laws of physics. The first human attack hit the station's shields, but it wasn't an energy weapon like the Kralix expected. It was a kinetic projectile moving at 90% of light speed. The tungsten warhead hit the station's energy shield and went right through it. The shield was designed to stop energy weapons, not solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. The impact sent shock waves through the entire structure. "Shields down!" someone shouted. "Impossible! Nothing can penetrate our shields!" That's when the planet cracker fired. The mining beam hit the station's main power core. The molecular bonds holding the metal together simply stopped working. A section of the station that had taken years to build fell apart in seconds. "All stations, abandon ship," Velkrath ordered. "This is not possible. Their weapons shouldn't work." But they did work, and they were just the beginning. More human ships arrived. These carried different weapons, swarms of small missiles that could think for themselves, energy weapons that seemed to bend space itself, and strangest of all, clouds of tiny machines that ate metal and turned it into more of themselves. Within 2 hours, the Kralix supply depot was gone, not destroyed. Consumed. The human machines had taken it apart piece by piece and used the materials to build more weapons. Captain Dong Hyun sent a message to Earth Command. Target destroyed. No casualties on our side. The Kralix weapons were unable to penetrate our armor or match our speed. Their technology appears to be several generations behind ours. How is that possible? Came the reply from General Taemin. Sir, I think they've been using the same technology for thousands of years. They became comfortable. We've been innovating and improving constantly. When you're always fighting each other, you get very good at making weapons. On the Kralix homeworld, Emperor Zekthar was receiving reports that made no sense. Say that again, he ordered his military advisor. Your Majesty, the humans have destroyed Supply Depot 7. They used weapons we have never seen before. Our technology seems to be ineffective against them. How many ships did it take? 50, Your Majesty. Zekthar stared at the holographic display showing the depot's last known position. 50 ships destroyed one of our most important supply stations? Yes, Your Majesty. And according to Admiral Kailesh's report, they seem to have many more ships hidden throughout the galaxy. The Emperor was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke with the authority of 5,000 years of Kralix rule. Mobilize the entire military. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier in the Empire. If these humans want a war, we will give them one they will never forget. Your Majesty, perhaps we should consider negotiation. No! Zekthar slammed his 4 fists on the table. The Kralix Empire does not negotiate with primitives. We will crush them completely. But on Earth, Dr. Minho was studying the data from the first battle. The readings were even better than he had hoped. General, he reported to Taemin, the Kralix technology is indeed inferior to ours. Their weapons, their shields, their engines, everything is based on principles that are thousands of years old. And our weapons? Performed exactly as designed. The planet crackers, the relativistic missiles, the grav. Emperor Zekthar stood in the war chamber of the Kralix homeworld, surrounded by holographic displays showing the full might of his empire. 12 star systems, 3,000 inhabited worlds, a military force that had conquered everything it had ever faced. Admiral Morgek, he addressed his greatest military commander, you understand the situation? Admiral Morgek was the finest military mind the Kralix had produced in 1,000 years. He had led campaigns against the hegemony, crushed the rebellion of the outer worlds, and brought entire species to their knees. Now he studied the reports about humanity with growing concern. Your Majesty, these humans are unusual. Their weapons technology appears to be more advanced than ours, despite being a single-world species. Impossible, Zekthar declared. We have ruled the galaxy for 5 millennia. How can primitives from one world threaten us? With respect, Your Majesty, they are not primitives. Analysis of the wreckage from Admiral Kailesh's fleet shows technology we cannot fully understand. Their ships are faster than ours, their weapons penetrate our shields, and their tactics— Morgek paused. They fight unlike any species we have encountered. Zekthar's 4 eyes blazed with anger. Then we will bring such force against them that their technology will not matter. How many ships can you deploy? The full battle fleet consists of 1,200 ships, Your Majesty, each one capable of destroying a planet. Take them all. Bring me the ashes of the human homeworld. But Morgek was already receiving new intelligence that changed everything. A Threnody scout ship had arrived with urgent information. Scholar. Ithara materialized in the war chamber, her crystalline form flickering with urgent light patterns. The Threnodi were ancient allies of the Kraliks, though they rarely involved themselves in military matters. "Emperor Zekthar," she said, "I bring warnings from the Galactic Council. You must stop this war before it spreads." The Council fears. "Our victory?" Zekthar asked mockingly. "No," Ithara replied. "They fear what the humans will do if you force them to fight for their survival." She activated her own holographic display. It showed data the Threnodi had gathered about human psychology and military history. "The humans have a concept they call total war," she explained. "When they face an existential threat, they do not simply defend themselves. They eliminate the threat entirely. In their own history, they have rendered entire species extinct. They have poisoned continents to deny them to their enemies. They have destroyed their own cities rather than let them be captured." Admiral Morgek studied the data with growing alarm. "Your Majesty, perhaps we should reconsider—" "Enough!" Zekthar roared. "I will not be frightened by stories of primitive warfare. Deploy the fleet. Crush them utterly." On Earth, Captain Subin was preparing for a very different kind of war. She stood in the briefing room of the Joint Human Threnodi Task Force, looking at alien allies she had never expected to have. The surviving Threnodi from the crashed ship had made contact with their government. When they learned that the Kraliks were planning to destroy humanity, a faction of Threnodi decided to help. They believed that stopping the war was the only way to prevent a galactic catastrophe. "Scholar Ithara has provided us with complete intelligence on Kralik's military technology," Subin explained to her mixed crew of humans and aliens. "We know their ship designs, their weapon capabilities, and their tactical doctrines." "Commander," Han Sol, her second-in-command, raised his hand. "Ma'am, can we trust them? These aliens could be leading us into a trap." Ithara spoke up, her translated voice calm but urgent. "Commander, my people have studied galactic warfare for millennia. We have seen empires rise and fall, but we have never seen a species with humanity's capacity for military innovation. If this war continues, the humans will not simply defeat the Kraliks. They will erase them from existence. And that's bad, because," Han Sol asked, "because other species will see what humans are capable of and they will unite against you. This war must end quickly, or it will become a war between humanity and the entire galaxy." Dr. Yeon Su, the task force's chief scientist, was working with Threnodi technology experts to develop countermeasures to Kralik's weapons. The cooperation was unprecedented. "Their energy shields operate on a different frequency than we expected," she reported. "But if we modify our weapons to match this frequency," she made adjustments to a device, "we can make their shields completely useless." "And their faster-than-light communication?" Subin asked. "We can intercept it, decode it, and even send false messages. With Threnodi help, we can make the Kralix fleet think they're receiving orders from their own command." Subin smiled. This was going to change everything. Meanwhile, Admiral Morgek was discovering that fighting humans was unlike anything in his experience. The Kralix fleet had moved to attack human supply lines, expecting to find cargo ships and civilian transports. Instead, they found Captain Young-Sik's hunter-killer squadrons. "Report!" Morgek demanded as his flagship shook under weapons fire. "Admiral, we are under attack by human ships, but they are not fighting like any military force we know." The tactical display showed the battle. Kralix ships were arranged in traditional battle formations, presenting unified fronts and concentrating their firepower. The human ships were doing something else entirely. They attacked in small groups, struck hard, and disappeared before the Kralix could respond. They used the asteroids and gas clouds as cover. They coordinated their attacks with timing that seemed impossible. "How are they communicating so quickly?" Morgek asked. "Our sensors detect no signals between their ships." "Unknown, Admiral. It is as if they can read each other's minds." The truth was simpler. Dr. Nara had achieved a breakthrough in quantum entanglement communication. Human ships could coordinate instantaneously across any distance. The Kralix, still using slower-than-light communication, could not match their coordination. Captain Young Six's ship, the Defiant, moved through the asteroid field like a predator. His crew had trained for this kind of fighting their entire careers. Hit and run, strike and fade, make the enemy fight on your terms, not theirs. Target the supply ships, he ordered. Leave the warships for last. Let's see how long they can fight without ammunition. The human strategy was simple, but effective. Instead of engaging the Krallick's military directly, they cut off their supplies. Ships that needed fuel and ammunition became sitting targets. The mighty Krallick's fleet found itself stranded in deep space, helpless and vulnerable. Admiral, Morgek's communication officer reported, "We are receiving a transmission from the humans." Captain Subin's face appeared on the screen. Behind her stood Scholar Ithara and a mixed crew of humans and Threnodi. "Admiral Morgek," Subin said, "I am Captain Subin of the Earth Defense Forces. As you can see, we are not alone in this fight." Morgek's 4 eyes widened as he recognized the Threnodi on the human ship. "Impossible. The Threnodi are our allies." "We're your allies," Subin corrected. "They have chosen to help us end this war before it destroys the galaxy. Admiral, your fleet is trapped. Your supply lines are cut. Your communication with the homeworld has been severed. You have one choice: surrender." "The Krallick's empire does not surrender to primitives." "Admiral," Scholar Ithara spoke up, "you have seen what human weapons can do. This is not their full capability. If you force them to escalate further, they will unleash weapons that can destroy entire star systems." "You lie!" Subin's expression remained calm. "Admiral, would you like a demonstration?" She nodded to someone off-screen. In the distance, a small asteroid suddenly vanished. Not destroyed, vanished. Where it had been, space itself seemed to bend and twist. "That was a spatial distortion weapon," Subin explained. "It removes matter from reality. We have larger versions that can target planets, stars, even black holes." Morgek stared at the empty space where the asteroid had been. His military training told him to fight. His survival instincts told him to run. "Your terms?" he asked quietly. "Complete withdrawal of all Krallick's forces from human space. Return of all prisoners and stolen technology. And a promise that your empire will never again attack human colonies." "And if I refuse?" Subin's smile was cold. "Then you will discover why the Threnodi warned your emperor not to attack us." On the Krallick's homeworld, Emperor Zekthar was receiving reports that made no sense. His fleet was defeated, his supply lines were destroyed, his communications were compromised, and now his own allies were working with the humans. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "We sent our greatest fleet against one primitive world." His military advisor was studying the latest intelligence reports. "Your Majesty, we may have underestimated the humans. They appear to have military capabilities far beyond what we initially believed." "Then send more ships. Send everything." "Your Majesty, we have already committed our primary battle fleet. If we send more ships, we will leave our own worlds defenseless." Zekthar was about to respond when a new communication arrived. It was from Admiral Morgek. "Your Majesty," Morgek said, his voice heavy with defeat, "I must report that our mission has failed. The human military is far more advanced than our intelligence suggested. They have weapons we cannot counter, tactics we cannot predict, and allies we did not expect." "Are you requesting reinforcements, Your Majesty?" "I am requesting permission to negotiate a—" The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in recorded history. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the great chamber, all watching the same horrifying data streams. War was spreading across the galaxy, and it was not being fought like any war they had ever seen. Ambassador Veltar stood at the center of the chamber, his crystalline form now pulsing with alarm colors that hurt to look at. Around him, species that had been enemies for millennia sat, together in shared terror. "The humans have been at war with the Krallick's empire for 6 months," Veltar announced. "In that time, They have introduced 17 new weapon systems, destroyed 43 major military installations, and captured or killed over 200,000 Krallic soldiers. A hegemony admiral stood up. Impressive numbers, but hardly unprecedented. Wars have been fought before. Have they? Veltar asked. Let me show you how humans fight. The chamber's main display activated, showing footage from the recent Battle of Krallic Station 7. What the assembled aliens saw made many of them physically recoil. The humans had not simply attacked the station. They had turned the entire asteroid belt around it into ammunition. Rocks the size of cities, accelerated to incredible speeds, slammed into Krallic's defenses like the fists of angry gods. When the station's shields failed, the humans had not boarded it or demanded surrender. They had used something they called a stellar converter to turn the station's own sun into a weapon. The star's energy output increased by 300% in seconds, incinerating everything in the system. This is not warfare, whispered a delegate from the peaceful Nori collective. This is annihilation. Admiral Sion Ho stood on the bridge of the Earth flagship Indomitable, watching his fleet prepare for the next phase of Operation Thunderbolt. Around him, 300 human ships moved in perfect coordination, each one a masterpiece of military engineering. Status report, he ordered. All ships ready, Admiral, reported Commander Dalgi. The asteroid conversion is complete. We have approximately 50,000 kinetic projectiles ready for deployment. Sion Ho nodded. The humans had found an asteroid, built near the Krallic's industrial world of Vectar, and spent 2 weeks converting every rock into a guided missile. The asteroids were now equipped with simple engines and basic navigation systems. Each one carried the destructive power of a nuclear weapon. What about the stellar ignition device? Ready for deployment, sir. Dr. Nara reports that the red giant star is perfect for conversion. One device will trigger a nova that will sterilize everything within 12 light years. The plan was simple. The humans would offer the Krallics one chance to surrender. If they refused, the entire system would be erased from existence. Sir, his communications officer reported, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. They're requesting we halt our advance. Sion Ho's expression did not change. Put them through. Ambassador Veltar's image appeared on the screen, along with representatives from dozens of other species. Admiral Sion Ho, Veltar said, the Galactic Council formally requests that humanity cease its current military operations. Your methods of warfare are causing panic throughout the galaxy. Ambassador, Sion Ho replied, the Krallic's Empire attacked our colonies without provocation. They murdered 50,000 civilians. We are responding appropriately. Appropriately? A hegemony representative spoke up. You are using stars as weapons. You are turning entire solar systems into battlefields. Yes, Sion Ho said simply. Is there a problem with that? The silence that followed was deafening. The assembled aliens were realizing that humans genuinely did not understand why their methods were considered horrifying. Dr. Nara was working in her laboratory aboard the research ship Discovery, making final adjustments to humanity's most terrifying creation yet. The quantum communication array had started as a simple, faster-than-light messaging system. Now it was something else entirely. Dr. Nara, her assistant Junki said nervously, are you certain this will work? The mathematics are sound, she replied, not looking up from her calculations. Quantum entanglement allows instantaneous communication across any distance, but if we increase the power output and modify the frequency, she made a final adjustment. We can cause every quantum communication device in the Krallic's Empire to overload simultaneously. And that will do what? Destroy their ability to coordinate their military. Every ship, every base, every command center will be cut off from Central Command. They will be fighting blind. Junki stared at the device. Ma'am, that's not just a weapon. That's a way to destroy an entire civilization's communication infrastructure. Yes, Nara said. That's the point. Colonel Wu Jin was leading a very different kind of operation. His Special Forces team had infiltrated the Kralix, homeworld itself, using stealth technology that made them effectively invisible. Their mission was not to attack military targets, it was to capture Emperor Zekthar himself. Remember, he told his team as they moved through the capital city, we want him alive. Dead emperors become martyrs. Living emperors can order surrenders. Team moved like ghosts through the alien city. Their stealth suits bent light around them, making them nearly invisible. Their weapons were silent and precise. They had been training for this kind of operation their entire careers. The Imperial Palace was supposed to be impregnable. Energy shields, armed guards, automated defenses, everything the Kralix could devise to protect their ruler. But the humans had studied the palace for months, using intelligence provided by their Threnody allies. "Security checkpoint ahead," whispered Sergeant Bongju. 4 guards, automated scanners." Wu Jin smiled. The Kralix scanners were designed to detect energy weapons and explosives. They would not detect the ceramic knives and chemical compounds. His team carried. Sometimes the old ways were the best ways. 20 minutes later, 4 Kralix guards were unconscious, and the human team was inside the palace. Emperor Zekthar was in his war room, studying reports that grew more desperate by the hour. His fleets were being destroyed faster than they could be replaced. His supply lines were cut. His communications were being intercepted and disrupted. "Your Majesty," his military advisor said, "perhaps it is time to consider terms." "Never!" Zekthar slammed his 4 fists on the table. "The Kralix Empire does not negotiate with primitives." "Your Majesty, these are not primitives. Our intelligence suggests they have weapons that can destroy entire star systems. They have already demonstrated the ability to use stars as weapons." "Then, we fight harder. Send everything. Every ship, every soldier." That's when Colonel Wu Jin stepped out of the shadows, his weapon pointed directly at the Emperor's head. "Your Majesty," Wu Jin said calmly, "I am Colonel Wu Jin of the Earth Defense Forces. You are now my prisoner." The Kralix guards reached for their weapons, but more humans appeared from seemingly empty air. In seconds, the room was secured. "Impossible," Zekthar breathed. "The palace is protected by the finest security in the galaxy." "Your security is designed to stop aliens," Wu Jin explained. "We're human. We fight differently." Back on Earth, General Tae Min was receiving reports from all fronts. The war was going better than anyone had dared hope. Human casualties were minimal. Kralix losses were catastrophic. "Sir," Dr. Minho reported, "our psychological warfare division has achieved a breakthrough. They have been broadcasting human, military history to Kralix populations. The effect has been significant." "Explain." "Sir, the Kralix have been studying our wars against each other. World War I, World War II, the nuclear standoff, the resource wars. They are beginning to understand what humans are capable of when we fight seriously." Tae Min raised an eyebrow. "And?" "Surrender requests are coming in from 17 Kralix worlds. They are more afraid of us than they are of their own government." It made sense. The Kralix had studied human military history and discovered that humans had spent their entire civilized existence perfecting the art of warfare. Every generation had developed new and more efficient ways to kill their enemies. Even their entertainment was filled with war stories and military strategy. "What about the Stellar Ignition Project?" "Ready for deployment, sir. Admiral Sion Ho is awaiting your orders." Tae Min was quiet for a moment. The device could turn a star into a supernova, destroying everything within 12 light years. It would end the war instantly. It would also make humanity the most feared species in the galaxy. "Sir?" Dr. Minho prompted. "Stand by," Tae Min said. "Let's see if Colonel Wu Jin's mission succeeds first." On the Kralix homeworld, Emperor Zekthar sat in his own throne room, now a prisoner of war. Colonel Wu Jin's team had taken control of the palace with surgical precision. No unnecessary deaths, no collateral damage, just swift, efficient capture of the enemy leadership. "You cannot hold me," Zekthar said. "My fleets will come for me." "Your Majesty," Wu Jin replied. "What fleets? We have destroyed 60% of your military. The rest are trapped without supplies or communication." He activated a portable display showing the current state of the war. Krallick's forces were surrounded, cut off, or in full retreat. Human ships controlled most of the major trade routes. The mighty Krallick's empire was collapsing. "This is impossible," Zekthar whispered. "We have ruled the galaxy for 5,000 years. Your Majesty, you ruled the galaxy when you—" 2 years after the first Krallick's attack on human colonies, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. Captain Young Sik stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Retribution, watching as the orbital defenses of Krallick's Prime crumbled under human. "Assault! Status report!" he ordered, his voice calm despite the magnitude of what was happening. "Sir," reported Lieutenant In Su from the tactical station, "their planetary shields are down to 30%. The orbital fortresses are destroyed. Enemy fleet strength is negligible." Young Sik nodded. The mighty Krallick's empire, which had once commanded 3,000 worlds, was making its final stand at their homeworld. But it was not much of a stand. "What about civilian casualties?" "Minimal, sir. Our precision weapons are targeting only military installations. The civilian population centers are untouched." That was important. Humanity had learned something crucial during their war with the Krallick's. Total victory did not require total destruction. The goal was not to exterminate the Krallick's, but to remove their ability to threaten humanity ever again. Engineer J. Wan was working in the depths of the Retribution, making final adjustments to humanity's most terrifying creation, the von Neumann. Constructor swarms had started as mining equipment designed to build space stations and habitats. Now they were weapons of unprecedented power. "Deployment ready," she reported to Captain Young Sik. "The swarms can be launched on your command." "Explain the process one more time," Young Sik requested. "Sir, each swarm consists of 10,000 microscopic machines. When deployed, they will consume the wreckage of destroyed Krallick's ships and use the materials to build more machines. Within 6 hours, we will have 100,000 machines. Within 12 hours, 1,000,000. They will continue growing until they have consumed every piece of Krallick's military hardware in the system." Young Sik stared at the display showing the swarm containers. "And they can't be stopped?" "Not by any known technology, sir. They are programmed to ignore living tissue and civilian infrastructure, but any military hardware—" She shrugged. "It gets converted into more swarms. It was a weapon that made traditional military thinking obsolete. Why build ships when you could build machines that turned enemy ships into your own weapons?" On Krallick's Prime, Emperor Zekthar stood in his command bunker, watching his empire die. The human fleet hung in orbit like a cluster of deadly stars, their weapons systematically dismantling 5,000 years of Krallick's military supremacy. "Your Majesty," General Kektar approached hesitantly, "the defense fleet is gone. The orbital fortresses are destroyed. Our ground-based weapons are being neutralized by those things." Zekthar knew what he meant. The humans had deployed swarms of tiny machines that were consuming every military installation on the planet. Tanks, artillery, even personal weapons. Everything was being taken apart at the molecular level and converted into more machines. "How is this possible?" Zekthar asked. "We had the finest military in the galaxy." "Your Majesty, I have been studying human military doctrine. They do not think like us. When we see a mining tool, we see mining. When they see a mining tool, they see a potential weapon. When we design a communication system, we design communication. They design a way to jam enemy communications. Everything they create serves dual purposes." The Emperor's 4 eyes stared at the tactical display. Human ships were everywhere, moving with coordination that seemed impossible. Their weapons were unlike anything in the Krallick's arsenal. Their tactics defied every principle of civilized warfare. And their casualties? Negligible, Your Majesty. Perhaps 50 ships lost in 2 years of warfare. Their technology is simply superior to ours. Meanwhile, in the Galactic Council chambers, panic was reaching new levels. Ambassador Veltar stood before an assembly that included every major power in the galaxy. All of them were watching the destruction of the Krallick's empire with growing terror. The humans have introduced 43 new weapon systems in 2 years, Veltar reported. Their industrial capacity appears to be expanding exponentially. Intelligence suggests they are building ships faster than we can count them. A hegemony admiral stood up. How fast? They are completing 1 new warship every 6 hours. Their automated factories are consuming entire asteroid belts and converting them into military hardware. The chamber erupted in frightened voices. The assembled aliens were beginning to understand what they were facing. Humanity was not just a military power. They were a military revolution. Furthermore, Veltar continued, they have demonstrated the ability to weaponize phenomena we considered impossible to control. They have turned black holes into siege weapons. They have made artificial supernovas. They have created machines that can consume entire fleets and convert them into weapons. What do they want? Asked a delegate from the cooperative worlds. Unknown. They have made no demands beyond the surrender of the Krallick's empire, but their expansion shows no signs of slowing. Dr. Hanul was working in a laboratory hidden deep beneath Earth's surface, making final preparations for humanity's ultimate weapon. The stellar conversion device was the culmination of 2 centuries of theoretical physics. It could turn any star into a weapon. Final systems check, she ordered her team. Gravitational field generators operational, reported Dr. Sang-Ho. Quantum tunneling array ready, added Dr. Young-A. Stellar ignition sequence programmed and ready for deployment. Hanul stared at the device that could destroy entire solar systems. It was no larger than a briefcase, but it contained the power to erase civilizations. Ma'am, Dr. Sang-Ho said quietly, are we really going to use this? I hope not, Hanul replied. But if the Krallick's force us to escalate further. She didn't finish the sentence. They all knew what it meant. The device could cause any star to go supernova. Everything within 12 light years would be sterilized. Planets, ships, space stations, all reduced to cosmic dust in minutes. Captain Curie was leading a very different kind of mission. As humanity's first ambassador to the Galactic Council, she was trying to manage the political consequences of their military success. Ambassador Veltar, she said, sitting across from the crystalline alien in the Council's diplomatic quarters. Humanity has no desire for galactic conquest. We want only to end the threat to our people. Captain Curie, Veltar replied. Your species has demonstrated weapons that can destroy solar systems. Your fleets control half the galaxy. How can you claim you do not seek conquest? Because we don't need to conquer anything, Curie explained. We can build whatever we need. Our technology allows us to convert raw materials into anything we require. Why would we want to rule other species when we can simply build our own worlds? It was a concept that most aliens found difficult to understand. Their empires were built on control of resources, populations, and territory. Humanity's empire was built on technology that made traditional concepts of empire obsolete. But your weapons are defensive, Curie said firmly. We build them because we have learned that the galaxy is not as peaceful as we hoped, but we use them only against those who threaten us. Veltar was quiet for a moment. And if other species threaten you, Curie's expression grew cold. Then they will learn what the Krallick's learned. Back on Krallick's Prime, the final phase of the siege was beginning. General Inho stood in the command center of his assault ship, preparing to offer the Kraliks their last chance to surrender. "Open a communication channel to Emperor Zekthar," he ordered. The Emperor's image appeared on the screen. He looked older than his years, broken by the complete destruction of his empire. "General Inho," Zekthar said quietly, "have you come to offer terms?" "I have, Your Majesty. Complete and unconditional surrender. Your military will be disbanded. Your weapons technology will be destroyed. Your empire will be placed under human oversight until we are satisfied that you pose no further threat. And if I refuse?" Inho gestured to the display showing the human fleet in orbit. "Your Majesty, do you see that small ship near the center of our formation?" Zekthar looked. Among the massive human warships was one vessel no larger than a shuttle. That ship carries a device that can cause your sun to go supernova. If you refuse our terms, we will activate it. Everything in this solar system will be destroyed. Your homeworld, your people, your history, all of it will become cosmic dust. The Emperor stared at the small ship. "You would commit genocide?" "Your Majesty, you attacked our colonies without warning. You murdered 50,000 innocent people. You declared war on humanity." Inho's voice was calm but cold. "We are offering you the chance to live. We suggest you take it." Zekthar looked around his command bunker. Through the monitors, he could see his capital city. Millions of Kraliks going about their daily lives, unaware that their existence hung by a thread. He paused, struggling with 5,000 years of imperial pride. "I accept your terms." The surrender was broadcast across the galaxy. The mighty Kraliks Empire, which had conquered 1,000 worlds, formally surrendered to a species that had only left their homeworld 2 centuries ago, but the surrender was just the beginning. Dr. Hanul's stellar weapon remained in position, ready to destroy the Kralik sun if they showed any sign of renewed aggression. The von Neumann swarms continued to consume Kralik's military hardware, converting it into human weapons. And across the galaxy, the siege of Kralix Prime lasted exactly 3 days. General Inho stood on the observation deck of his command ship, watching as the last symbols of Kralix military power surrendered to human forces. Below, on the planet's surface, millions of Kralix civilians went about their daily lives, unaware of how close they had come to complete extinction. "Final casualty report," he requested from his aide. "Sir, total Kralix military losses: 800,000 soldiers, 3,200 ships, and every major military installation in their empire. Human losses: 47 ships, 312 personnel." Inho nodded grimly. The numbers told the story of the most one-sided military campaign in galactic history. An empire that had ruled for 5,000 years had been crushed in less than 2 years. And the civilian population? Untouched, sir. Our precision weapons avoided all civilian targets. No major cities were damaged. That had been crucial to the human strategy. They were not conquerors seeking territory or slaves. They were eliminating a military threat while leaving the people who could rebuild a peaceful civilization. Dr. Hanul worked quietly in her mobile laboratory, making final adjustments to the most terrible weapon humanity had ever created. The stellar conversion device sat before her, no larger than a briefcase but capable of destroying entire solar systems. Dr. Hanul, her assistant Dr. Kyung-ho, said nervously, "The Emperor has surrendered. Do we still need this?" She looked up from her calculations. "The Emperor has surrendered. His military commanders have surrendered. But throughout history, there have always been those who refuse to accept defeat. If even one Kralix faction tries to continue this war," she gestured to the device, "this ensures that any renewed aggression will result in the complete destruction of their species, not just defeat, extinction." "Ma'am, doesn't that make us the monsters?" Hanul was quiet for a long moment. "Doctor, they attacked our colonies. without warning. They murdered 50,000 innocent people, including children. They declared total war on humanity. She looked back at the device. We are not the monsters. We are the species that make sure monsters never threaten us again. Ew. The Galactic Council chambers, an emergency session was underway. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the Great Hall, all focused on the same question. What did humanity want? Ambassador Veltar stood at the center, his crystalline form flickering with patterns of deep concern. The Kralix Empire has formally surrendered, he announced. Emperor Zekthar has agreed to all human demands, but the question remains, what are humanity's intentions for the rest of the galaxy? Captain Curie, humanity's first ambassador to the Council, stood to address the assembly. Around her,